Hello, traders. Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, July 27th, 2025. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll discuss the indices closing at an all-time high again for a fifth straight week. Financials, banks, insurance, industrials all led the markets last week, leaving us with 16 bullish indicators, 3 neutral and 1 bearish. Barring anything negative the Fed has to say on Wednesday or geopolitical or tariff news, we anticipate the markets might move sideways into the Fed this week. The S&P 500 closed at all-time highs for a fifth straight week. Volume increased, RSI looks strong, MACD is flat to up with a potential cross this week, and stochastics is embedded. Tech also had a good week, pushing to all-time highs with the Qs just shy of the 567.70 high. IWM also trending and bullish, with the New York Stock Exchange also making a new all-time high. When you're concerned about the market's direction, I always consult the New York Stock Exchange, a broad measure of market participation. You can see that we had a strong close to the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, closing at all-time highs. The 10 New York FANG components also closed higher, with only 2, Netflix and Tesla, lower on the week. The rest closed higher, so we're remaining in this upward sloping channel with RSI rising. Looking for these tech stocks to continue to hold on to the recent highs, with a fade in MACD and stochastics indicating that there was some underlying weakness. With that in mind, the Fed decision is on Wednesday, so we'll see how the markets react to that. Otherwise, the markets don't seem to be positioning for any sort of downside. As we proceed into FOMC on Wednesday, the markets don't seem to be pricing in any volatility, with the VIX closing at 5-month lows. Junk bonds and high-yield corporate debt are holding near all-time highs. We do have price action above the 921 and 50-day. This is bullish for equities, as these two risky asset classes continue to push to highs. Overall, the markets are neutral to bullish, with the 10-year yield also in a sideways range since the end of 2023. Crude oil and gasoline products moving back down into its range, a plus for consumers through the end of the summer driving season, while gold and silver continue to consolidate, signaling a lack of concern or safety in the markets at the present time. With all of the tariff news we had last week, with Indonesia, the Philippines, Japan, we're looking forward to the EU, which is meeting with the administration's financial arm today. Perhaps we'll have some positive news to start the week. Finally, we have the US dollar hanging out near 52-week lows, just below 100, not signaling any concern at the moment, leaving bonds, currencies, and commodities with a neutral to bullish signal to start the week. The consumer discretionary consumer staples indicator is bullish for equities again, as we see this rising out of the blue box. Looks nothing like the red boxes where we had this indicator turned down back in the 2022 bear market, and again in February when the president first announced tariffs worldwide. With this indicator moving higher, that's bullish for equities, with all sectors moving up and to the right. Financials, industrials outperforming along with materials. Technology did well last week as well. Software, hardware, cloud, semiconductors, all putting in strong performance. Small cap sectors are all above their 10 EMA weekly as well, with consumer discretionary showing strength. Small cap energy above its 10 EMA weekly. Small cap financials flagging for the week. Healthcare, the one laggard. Small cap industrials putting in the best performance, closing at highs for the week. Materials, information technology taking a break, while small cap utilities move sideways for a fourth week. However, it is above the 10 EMA, and therefore small caps look pretty strong to start the week. Overall, sectors look pretty strong and supportive, depending on what happens with FOMC on Wednesday. Most of the IBD 50 look very strong, above their bullish trending 20 and 50-day moving averages. Alligator Technologies for about the fourth or fifth week on the IBD 50. AGX, building out the electrical grid, very important. This is one of many companies that'll be working on that construction project over the next several years. Arista Networks at all-time highs. Broadcom at all-time highs. A-Lab on the IBD 50 again this week, putting in a strong performance, closing at highs. Cloudflare, CLS, all of these stocks following through. DoorDash, one of my favorites for the week ahead, coming out of a Bollinger Band squeeze. Use a stop if it loses the 21-day moving average. Other than that, we're looking for new all-time highs. DoorDash, volume, MACD, stochastics, RSI, all rising. Looking good for the week. Robinhood also looking very strong. Looking for this to continue along its bullish 21-day moving average. I'd put a stop underneath Friday's low or the 21-day. Looking for a continuation as RSI, volume, and stochastics move higher. MACD will turn up as a function of price. Interactive Brokers, new on the list, moving higher into Friday, with Schwab also putting in new highs. Raymond James Financials, very similar look. All of these broker-dealers and financial asset managers look very strong. Stifel Financial, very similar look. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, the big banks also looking very strong. Check out the regionals. Those had a strong performance this week as well. With Goldman Sachs coming out of a squeeze, looking for a follow-through. Industrials also showing a strong performance last week. Watch stocks like Caterpillar and Boeing. Looking for industrials to continue as we break out to new all-time highs. Additional IBD 50 names like Life 360 continue to show higher highs, higher lows. The 20 and 50-day are bullish, looking for a follow-through. Palantir, very strong last week. A stop underneath 155, looking for a follow-through this week. 20 and 50-day are bullish. Power, PWR Quanta, following through as well, looking very strong. Shopify may continue this week. Watch Shopify. SoFi consolidating. Snowflake even looking pretty good. We could see this push back up to 225 this week. Taiwan Semiconductor wrote a nice article about Taiwan Semi, so be sure to check that out on the blog. While TSSI also pushing higher, in addition to Dell, putting in a strong performance, most likely see a follow-through this week. Remember, SMCI also closed at highs on Friday. Expectation is we could see 60 in the short term. There was some activity noted on the September 60s late on Friday. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, Sunday, the 27th of July, 2025. I'll send out a watch list later tonight around 12 midnight on the East Coast, around 9 o'clock on the West Coast. So be sure to check your inbox for that later this evening. Have a great evening. Take care, and we'll see you in the morning. Ciao.